All right. So actually, let's do one part of the warm-up together just to get you guys in the swing of things. We're not going to put it on Socrative or anything. We're just going to do it together. So, on this, I have f of x equals 5x squared minus 2x plus 1. Jaden, remember what that f of x is?
Function of x.
That's true. So, f of x is a function. And then if I have f of 3 right here, what am I doing with that 3? Remember, Devin? What do you need, James?
Oh, no, just,
What you need, Jen? Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
So, you need something.
just give me a newspaper.
There's one on your desk.
He's getting a pencil.
I'm getting writing utensil, actually.
Then why didn't you just say that?
I know, like, if I can find it. Here, I'll
I'm
get
out.
you
I have a
one.
highlighter.
Every day
So.
when
I know, I was looking at your computer keyboard.
I can't even open my bag.
Okay. So, anybody remember what, if I have f of 3, what that means? Remember, Devin? Yeah. So, if I have f of 3, I take this 3, and I plug it in for every x, and then I just solve it.
Here, get over
Okay. Alright. Just grab a pencil and sit. Pen or whatever it is, I don't care.
it. Writing utensil.
Alright.
Ah, I want
F of 3 means everywhere I see an x, I put in a 3. So I would go 5, 3 squared,
yeah.
minus 2 times 3, plus 1. And then I can plug this straight to Desmos, or let's just do it by hand real quick. Let's see, 3 squared is 9, 9 times 5 is 45, minus 2 times 3 is 6, and then I got plus 1. Let's see, minus, yeah, it's just 40. And I would get 40. So everywhere I saw everywhere I saw an x, I put in a 3 and I just replaced it.
No.
We're going to be doing this today, for parts of it.
Why is there a 5 in front? Oh.
This is a 5x squared.
When did you start going?
Like 2 minutes ago, but you were talking. All right.
Wait, whoa.
Hey.
Go back for 1 second.
Like a whole minute.
I'm sorry.
No, you skip it. We were talking.
Is that 45?
Yes.
Okay, I put a minus in there.
45
No,
plus
that's me.
1 equals 40. I got it. Lame.
Yeah,
You got it, Linda?
Oh, that says nerds.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Thank you. I don't know.
All right. So f of x is a function, and remember it works just like y. So what we're going to be doing today is working with functions. We're going to be working with some functions. We're not going to worry about that. So we're going to let f of x equals x minus 5 and g of x equals x squared. I want to know, what is g of f of negative 3? Okay. I don't think you guys have seen this before. So this is what's called a composition of function. So you see this little hollow circle in the middle? We want to keep that as a hollow circle because that means it's a composition. And when we read this, we read it as g of f of negative 3. So on our warm-up, that one we did together, we had f of negative 3, right? Well, now this is g of f of negative 3. And what this means is I am going to take negative 3 and I'm going to plug it into the closest one. I'm going to plug negative 3 in for f, and I'm just going to evaluate it. After that, whatever I get, I'm going to plug that back into g, and I'm going to evaluate it. So it's like there's a two-step answer to get to the very end. So to start with, I am going to take negative 3, and I'm going to plug it into my f function, my f of x. So instead of f of x right there, I'm going to go f of negative 3. Which is going to equal negative 3 minus 5, which is negative 8, right? That's pretty good. Okay. After I find that, I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to take negative 8 and I'm going to plug that into g. It's like it's almost like a little bounce. Negative 3 goes in for f, we take that, we plug it into g. And it's always going, whatever's closest is what you start with. Since f was closest, I start by plugging negative 3 in for f. So I did f of negative 3, I got negative 8. Now I'm going to do g of negative 3 and solve that. So g of x is x squared, here we go, negative 3 squared, which is, oh no, what did I do with negative 3? What am I doing? I got, no. Sorry, negative 8, not negative 3. We did negative 3 last time.
Oh.
There we go.
Put like 2 in there.
Alright, so I got negative 8 for f of negative 3. I throw myself off. And then I take this negative 8 and I plug it back in for g this time. G of negative 8 is negative 8 squared, which is positive 64. So when I solve these, g of f of negative 3 equals 64. And this 64 is my final answer. This is my final answer right here.
Tell Wade
And we're just going to be practicing this today, this composition of functions. It's easy though. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing. Alright.
G
Speed demon.
Oh, wait, go back. Yes.
Yeah, James, you still looking?
Hold on,
It's right there on the board with me. Okay, no.
Alright, you're good to go.
Okay.
Because he's not English,
Alright. So when we do these, the order does matter. So we just did g of f of 3. This time we're going to do f of g of negative 3. And when you do these, there's actually 2 ways to write it. I really don't like the way with the circle because it always looks like a 0 or like I'm writing the word fog. So, sometimes it is written like, oh, I spelled sometimes. Let me look.
Some.
God dang it, go.
You should- Yeah, it's my teach math, not English.
Sometimes.
Alright, sometimes it is written like in parentheses, like this. F parentheses G parentheses negative 3. But it works the same way. I will usually write it this way just because it's easier for me to write. And it works the same way. I start with the negative 3, I start with the number, and I plug it into whatever's closest, and then I get that answer, plug it into the other one. So we're going to start with G of negative 3, which is going to be negative 3 squared, which is positive 9. Okay? We're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to plug in 9 in for f, in for my f of x. So we're going to go f of 9 going to equal 9 minus 4, which is 5. Not about.
9 minus 5.
It's about 5.
9 minus
Oh, sorry, I flipped it around.
I was like, where did you get the 4?
Well, I flipped it around. 9 minus 5 equals 4.
Well, we haven't been ready for Monday as much.
I did it in my head, okay? I flipped it around. That's it.
Still not the about.
Alright, so 9 minus 5 equals 4. So when I solved this, I did f of g of negative 3, and it equals 4. So whatever way you answer doesn't really matter. So you could do the thing with the composition circle.
Why is there double parentheses?
Because you had starting parentheses and then another starting. So you had parentheses right here that closed, and then you had parentheses.
Hey, what goes in that first box?
This one right here. Oh, on the other slides?
Yeah.
G of f of 3.
That's what she said the last time. Like, how many of these? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just in the whole corner.
You got it?
Hey,
Sorry.
But no, why would you ask me that?
answer -3.
Alright, so we are going to practice this a little bit more.
Caught me off guard.
Take it from
Hey, hush. So we are going to practice this a little bit more. We're going to do f of g of 2. So to start with, we do g of 2. And we solve that. So g of x up here is x squared plus 1. So I'm going to go 2 squared plus 1, which is, let's see, 2 squared is 4, plus 1 is 5, right? Then, same thing, but this time I'm going to plug 5 in for f of x. So I'm going to go f of 5 is going to equal 3 times 5 minus 2. 3 times 5 is 15, minus 2 is 13. 13 is my final answer. So even though I had to go through and find 5, it's not really important in my answer. All I care about is the 13. I'm going to have f of g of 2 equals 13.
Oh, we have the same step.
How'd they get 5?
Then why did we find it? Shut up over there. Oh, we need the
Oh, you
5.
gotta put the 2 in for the x one.
We need an answer.
I was like, wait. 3x minus 2 does not equal 5.
Alright, you guys are going to help me out with this next one here in just a minute.
Well, they're the
Oh,
opposite.
wait.
G
Yep.
of f of 2.
Yep.
You do, what, you do f of 2?
You are going to do f of 2 first.
Oh, that's a.
Alright, start us off. Since you're going to start it off, Alyssa. We're going to do f of 2 first, which is going to be 3 times 2 minus 2. Alright, 3 times 2 is 6, minus 2 is
I don't want to go to
4.
country club, so I'm not going.
Or Maya, what are we doing next?
So you play the next one?
Depends where it's at. I don't like country club.
So you're trying to list the
I'm trying to tell me
Well, I can
Oh,
play.
that's
I'm just
G of
saying, I
2.
want someone to take my spot.
oh.
Not quite, because we just did f of 2, right? And we got 4. So this is what we're plugging into g. So we're going to do g of 4.
Okay.
So we got this one, and we got 4. Now we're going to take that 4 and plug it into g. So g of 4 is going to be 4 squared plus 1. 4 squared is 16, plus 1 is 17. This is my final answer, that's 17.
Okay, whoa.
Yeah, hold up.
How?
2 go there?
I messed that up so bad.
In the middle?
Yeah, that's the function
Wait,
of
why did you like go over? Why is that
G
4 now?
of f.
Because we did f of 2 and we got 4, right?
Oh, okay.
And then we plugged in
Oh,
4
I'm
for
trying to
g.
see it.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, never
Oh,
mind. I know where I
7,
messed
like
up.
7, 13,
I
1.
used 2 again instead of one number.
So you gotta be careful. Because we don't use 2 twice. We used it the first time, then we used that number we got the second time. So you gotta be careful. It's like it's bouncing around different numbers. I used 2 in for f, and my f of x, and I got a number. Then I'm gonna take whatever I got and plug it in for g of x.
Close.
Alright, you guys are gonna try something now. Alright, everybody done with this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so I have f of x equals 2x minus 1, g of x equals 7x. Let's start with, I want you to find g of f of 2.
G of f.
I want you to find g of f of 2.
Wow. One on your basket.
Oh, no. It's not that kind of
Almost like one on one basketball.
So on your own, on your paper, find g of f of 2 to start with.
This game is fun. Increase jump speed.
You want a phone there, James?
Are y'all doing the second one below it?
Depends on how good we do on the first one.
Wait, so you want us to do the one with the blue arrow? Oh, wait, the... Wait.
Yes, I do.
Wow. So you do f of 2? Didn't we just do this?
So
We have different f of x and g of x.
Whoa. Oh, that's how you do this problem.
Break it.
Okay, how do you do this? Junkie?
You call me Jalky?
Wait, where are you at right now?
Oh, so
That is
then
fine.
we go.
Yeah, I'm confused.
I can't find
Seven
it.
times
I
five.
did just like that.
What'd you get?
Do we make it
7 times
equal?
5?
Oh,
Oh no, then
Not
we do
yet.
2.
7 times 3.
This one right here.
No,
For that one.
No,
Wait,
so
that
what's the
goes
first
right
thing we're
there?
gonna do?
Yeah,
Just do
yeah, 3 of G.
I thought you used the 5.
So, other way around. We
Because
start
you
with
get
the
5,
middle.
you see.
F of 2.
5 from where?
Uh,
No. So you go like the down sequence, like you say. So from here
Oh,
to
G goes
here.
first. I did F first.
That's 21, right?
Who got down to those?
21, correct? 21 help.
I forgot. That's
And then-
in order.
2x minus 1. But instead of x, we're going to plug in these 2.
Then grow.
Yep.
Plus 1.
So 4 minus 1. 3. Okay, so it's going to equal 3. Right?
This is how you do it.
Okay. Have we done the G part? No. So now do G of 3.
How do we write the answer?
3 will go in for,
How do we write the answer?
that one's F. That
Oh.
one's G.
21.
There you go. Oh, I'll give you another 30 seconds or so. Then we'll go over it together.
How do we put the answer?
It'll be, it'll look like this, but then have a number at the end.
I did it wrong.
Okay.
Or if you want to do it with the little circle, it'll look like G of F of 2 equals. I don't like writing it like that. It's the same problem, I just don't like writing it that way.
I have no idea. I messed it up.
G of.
So is that the last one is this?
Oh.
Yep, all I care about is the last one. So the first answer you get, we need it, but it doesn't matter. All I care about is the last one.
Is that music?
Oh, wait.
How's that computer science class?
Alright,
In my
Just like
head,
Blender.
I was looking at that video.
so we can 3D print.
First
Alright, let's get started on this one. Carissa, what am I doing first?
Oh, what do you need first? I need graphics.
What?
You got one.
Yep, we're doing F of 2. Okay, Ella, what's F of 2 going to look like when I replace numbers in there?
G you get from your question.
So bogus.
This is so fun, honestly.
What?
But it's not. Freeze.
Alright.
41.
Oh, it's one.
I'll just drop out.
Yeah, I said factual numbers, but yeah. Alright, so I get F of 2 equals 3. Jaden, what am I doing after that?
Put 3, like F, G of 3,
Yep, we're going to do G of 3.
and then we 2 times 3 minus 1.
Wait, what?
3 times 3 minus 1.
That's F of X.
Is that what you're gonna do? Oh, you gotta put that in. That's what's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. So, G of 3 is going to be 7 times 3 like this, which is 21.
Give me another minute.
So, my final answer is G of F of 2 equals 21. This is my final answer. So I need this 3 right here, but it's not my final answer. Alright, you guys want to do another one like this? You want to move on?
Do another one.
Move on.
I wanna move on.
I got it now.
You've been overruled, Dazen. You just want to play more games. Yeah, you
Darn
did
it.
it already, didn't you? Get off of there. Alright, so we did these with only numbers.
Oh my.
We're going to do these where we have polynomials. So,
What?
if you don't plug in only a number, like on this first one, we're going to do f of g of x. And everywhere we see an x, we're going to replace it with x, which is kind of not really doing anything, but you'll see. So, if we, it'll be weird, but it'll be okay. You okay back here, hold on.
It's actually
Go
done.
back to your spot next to notes. So help me if I see a little something. Hey, where's that
They're in-
shell on my floor? Hey,
Keep that out of the
I'll leave it.
Jaden's over there eating stuff, so you can tell.
I think yours
I
is
just
not.
spit
Where's
one
the
out and I
pen?
don't know where it went. Devin,
I don't want to find them on my floor, your opinion.
That's what I said, I got the
You're free to do.
garbage.
All right. So if we don't plug in only a number into our functions, our answers are going to be polynomials. So we're not going to get equals 5 or equals 21 like we did before. We're going to get a final answer that is a polynomial. So we're going to start with f of g of x. So g of x is going to be, this is the first thing we're going to do, right? G of x. Everywhere I see an x, I'm going to replace it with an x. Which, if I replace x with x, does anything change?
No.
No. I get g of x equals x minus 8. Nope. Because it's like I'm replacing it with this. Like this. Which is just x minus 8. Alright. I get g of x equals x minus 8, right?
Yep.
I am going to have to take this now and plug it in to f of x. I'm going to plug the whole thing, x minus 8, in for f of x. So I am going to have f of x minus 8 inside there, which is going to equal 4x minus 8 squared, like that. And then we have to go through and simplify this.
Could you just okay? You sound like that would be.
Distribute, yes, but not yet. All right, Devin, what do I do if I have a squared with a parenthesis like this?
You square root.
No, we're not solving, we're simplifying. We will distribute at the end, so don't worry about the fourth right now. Let's look at this squared. Listen, what do I do when I got this squared on the parentheses right here? I'll give you a hint. It'll look more like this.
I was gonna say, that was gonna be my second guess, was you double it.
And how do I put parentheses together like that?
Foil.
We gotta foil it.
Oh,
Oh.
I love it.
All right, so we're gonna foil these. Helena, what's first?
First.
Yeah.
Oh, x squared.
That's first. First. X squared. James, what's the outside?
X.
Times
James.
8. Negative
negative 8, and we
8.
get
Said that.
negative 8x. Dazen, what's the inside?
Negative 8x.
Negative 8x. Austin, what's the last?
Uh, 64.
64.
No, it's not.
Alright, I put these together to get x squared. LMA, what's negative 8x minus 8x?
Oh, wait.
That's plus. Minus.
No, it's 16.
Yep, we're going to go negative 16x and then plus 64. Alright, alright. And then I still have this 4 on the outside, right? Now what are we going to do with this 4? Now we're going to distribute it. Which is the little arc thingy. Which is this thing.
That's how I foil.
That's fine. You're just distributing that. Alright, so we're going to go 4x squared. Let's see, minus 64x plus, let me think, 256.
Huh?
So this is going to be my final answer. F of g of x equals this whole thing. So these polynomial ones, in some ways, they're kind of more difficult just because they tend to be a lot bigger. But they're not really any different as far as the steps.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, let's do it.
Dude,
Alright, I'm just going to move this around so it's easier to see. Alright, this time around, we're going to do g of f of 3x.
Dang, man.
Alright, we're going to do g of f of 3x. So I just moved it down so I could see it, so you guys could see it a little bit better. I'll actually keep going.
What is up with you?
Alright, so I'm starting with f of 3x, which means everywhere I see an x, I'm going to replace it with 3x. So I'm going to go 4, 3x squared. Alright, I think we're at Alyssa.
I thought you called my name last time.
I don't remember. I'm
Why
pretty sure I
don't
ended
you
on
ever
OA.
remember?
Oh, well.
You called her.
Did I?
Yeah. You're over there. No, Irma went.
No, we're starting over.
No, don't go.
I don't care. I just want to annoy you now. All right. If I have 3x in parentheses then squared, what do I have to do with that
Where
squared?
are we at?
On the bottom one.
Oh, what?
We're on the bottom one.
This one right here?
Yeah.
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 What? I don't have enough.
So I replaced f of x. I did f of 3x. Yeah, fine. I'll just do it. I've been tired of waiting.
Sorry, go
All right. When I have something in parentheses, then I have my squared. It's kind of like a little backwards distribute. I'm going to have a 3 squared, and I'm going to have x squared.
Yes, that one.
So I got 4 on the outside. 3 squared is 9, and I have x squared, right? Okay. And then I have to distribute again with the 4. When I distribute with the 4, what do I get? What? Did you say something, or am I?
You're imagining things.
I'm imagining things. I wanted you to say something. All right. Maya, when I distribute, what I get? It's 4 times 9. 36. And I still have x squared. Alright, that was the first part of my answer, but I gotta keep going. Now I'm gonna do g of 36x squared. So I'm gonna go g 36x squared. Which means everywhere I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a 36x squared. I'm gonna go, well, 36x squared, and then minus 8. On this one though, am I doing anything, do I really need these parentheses right here?
No.
No. Well, I'm not multiplying, I'm not adding anything, so I'm just going to drop them. So I'm going to go 36x squared minus 8. Is there anything I can really do with this? Do I need a FOIL or distribute or any of that?
No.
Nope. So I'm done. So g
Answer?
of f of 3x equals this. This is my final answer. 36x squared minus 8.
I like that one better.
Yeah, that one's a little easier. Alright, so polynomials aren't any different. They're just a little longer. But they work the same way. I'll let everybody get it copied down, and then I think we might be doing one more. Yeah, you guys will do at least one more. Got a question, Carissa? Got it, Alyssa? Okay. James, you got this one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys are going to do one now, but let's make it easy. Let's just pick one. Let's do...
That one.
No, let's do both.
Oh, let's just do one.
Sure, Devin. Let's do both.
Let's do the second one.
No.
I want you to just do the second one. G of f of negative x.
Woman.
Wherever you go.
So, on your own, I want you to do g of f of negative x. Then check with your partner. Somebody said bias, you get the same answer.
Go first.
Please don't say that either.
By you.
Bayou, like New Orleans.
Oh, this I did it.
Can I put a 1 in front of it?
Not that high.
Sure.
It's unreadable.
So you guys are doing g of f of negative x. And then check with somebody sitting around you.
This one?
Someone close to you.
Square? No.
Negative. Just 2 negative x.
Okay, go get
Oh, wait, never mind.
Don't see that you.
Or it needs to be 2.
Yeah.
How can you put it in that?
While I was talking, when I stood up, one of them flew out of my mouth, and I have no idea where it is. That's not it, I swear.
Yeah, you do
And you have to put that in for
equal it and
It's gonna be negative.
But thanks. Now you don't have to clean up the whole thing.
And no, I
How?
really, I like.
Now you gonna distribute it?
It would just be negative.
Is that what you got from Disney?
And that was-
Your thing,
Right.
What did I do?
Wait, what?
That's
Look
my.
at mine. Oh, we're not supposed to.
Well, you should. Okay.
What? I know, that's why I said do the second one.
I should just do negative x.
I was like,
That's what you get. So you go.
oh, that's right.
Keep going now. What do you do with that? You guys got 2 up there.
Answer?
After we're done with this
Oh
one.
wait, can I?
Yes,
Would it still work if they wasn't the little one there?
You got negative 2x plus 2.
Okay, cool.
So negative 2 plus 2.
Which I can't.
Go kid, we get it right.
More, so that's gonna be in there.
What is it?
Got it. Going.
Negative x over million.
In just a minute. Hold up.
Go get some of this.
Now what?
Yeah, right.
Oh, and then do we put that here? G of x,
Yeah.
and we put that here,
Yeah.
and put up here.
I put it on the outside for some reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, alright.
Wait,
Let's get started.
What are you doing on the board?
Ow.
Really?
Right in the eye.
That was mine. I got that one's mine.
Give me the back.
Alright, we're gonna do f of negative x. I don't know who was doing that, but you got really bad handwriting.
Ah, Jake.
Ow.
Alright, we're gonna do f of negative x. What is that gonna look like, Melina?
What?
What's f of,
What?
f of negative x gonna
Oh
look
my
like?
god.
I have to.
You're hacking.
What?
You know, so cool.
Oh, I have to do the 2x,
Uh-huh.
but put x inside it or 1.
Okay, yeah, you put a 1 right there, which is fine.
Yeah, 2
Okay.
and then negative 1x plus 2.
Yeah.
Parentheses, two
Alright,
paper.
and then, Devin, what do you do with that 2 on the outside?
Oh my god.
Yep. And we're going to get negative 2x plus 2. Alright, James, what do I do with it afterwards?
Put it in polynomial.
Which one?
F. I don't know.
Try again. G. We're going to put it in for G. So we're going to have G of negative 2x plus 2. Because we already did it in for F, now we're going to do it in for G. And what's that going to look like, Austin, when I plug it in?
Where we at?
Right here. What's it going to look like when I plug in negative 2x plus 2 in for G of x?
Oh, the 4 is going to be on the end where the G is basically.
Yep. And then negative 2x plus 2. Dazin, what do we get for our final answer?
Negative 8x plus 4. I'm.
Yep, you got it. So G of f of negative x equals negative 8x plus 4. Because we have to distribute this 4 on the outside right there.
Plus 8.
Plus 8.
You said 4.
I'm
I believe
sorry.
you. That's what I get.
He's never gonna trust that it was the
Never.
version.
Not even once.
homework?
They're not even on Google Classroom yet. Be patient. Nerds. Alright, that's it. So your exit ticket, I'm going to put on the board here. I didn't have enough space to print it, so it's not on there. So you're going to do your exit ticket. I might trim it down a little bit to be nice about it. And then start on your homework.
What? We have an exit ticket?
Yeah.